Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. On behalf of everyone at JPS and Government Capital, we appreciate your joining us. I am Carol Hollingsworth, the JPS Vice President of Sales. Providing you with today's presentation is D.C. Greer, the Vice President of Government Capital Corporation, a nationwide public finance company headquartered in Southlake, Texas. D.C. Greer with Government Capital has been in our industry for a long time. I've worked with D.C. in the past successfully to help government agencies, state and local and school districts with their financing so that they could buy the products and systems that they're looking for. Government Capital, with more than 30 years in public finance, and D.C. Greer, D.C. is focused largely in the public safety sector. His successes include implementing affordable financing solutions for the end user, as well as installing point of sales techniques to sales teams on the value and use of financing to complement their sales. At this time, I would like to introduce D.C. Greer to you, and he'll provide you with a presentation today. At this time, allow me to introduce D.C. Greer to you. D.C.?
Good. Thank you so much, Carol, and thank you for setting all of this up. And I look forward to this. And Government Capital is proud to be a partner of JPS to work with their sales team and also end users that are considering their product. Government Capital. Let me give you a little bit more about Government Capital and a couple three takeaways that I'd like for you to focus on. One is when you're looking for financing, especially in local government, it is quite different from commercial financing. And a lot of folks look at the financing as government financing, and the financing is just like you would finance your car and you own it at the end. And or you can hear it as leasing, but it's really not leasing. It's tax exempt lease purchase, which is another way of saying that you're going to own it at the end. So, but focus on Government Capital. That's all we do. We don't do commercials. We don't do cars. We don't do personal. We are focused on knowing what the state requirements and statutes are, so that we can devise the right financing statute that would be applicable to your state. As Carol said, we've been around since 1992. We are headquarters in Southlake, Texas. I live in Brookhaven, Mississippi. We serve local governments, and to reiterate what Carol said, we serve cities and counties and water districts, emergency service districts, fire departments, and other political subdivisions nationwide. And we've completed over 9,000 public sector transactions, exceeding $4 billion of financed volume. And anytime you can do that consistently over 20 or 30 years, you're doing something right. And you also have a staff that's knowledgeable about how to craft the right document with the right language, a legal staff that makes sure that every one of these documents follow your particular state guidelines. We are governed and audited by the SEC, so we have a huge responsibility to doing things right, and so we welcome the opportunity to work with you. We also work with the Texas Fire Facility Program. We're the administrator of the Texas Fire Facility Program, and we are the endorsed equipment partner of the Louisiana Municipal Association, and those are two organizations that we work very closely with. So, that's who Government Capital is. It's the expertise to evaluate and understand what your particular need is, and then to do our best to come up with solutions that are economically feasible and fit within your budget. Here is a representative list of some of the transactions. It obviously does not reflect all of these, but it is a snapshot of a lot of cities and towns and parishes and counties in the U.S. So, if you take a quick chance to review some of those, you'll see anything from Colorado to Louisiana to Missouri to Oklahoma, and a lot of different states. And so that gives you an idea of how widespread our services have been used. And by the way, if you are a present customer of Government Capital, we thank you for entrusting your needs to us. And if you're not, we hope that you will engage us. The next 2 or 3 slides are going to be some things that I hear on a common basis, and also I don't know if there are any of the sales or dealers on here, but they're asked as well. And so this presentation can be applicable if you're a dealer that's listening in, or an end user, because there are certain things that are consistently asked. One is, can you do technology, hardware, and also the software, the installation, and the support? And technology is a huge market for us, and the answer is yes. And I tell people, you just take a Walmart basket when you're looking at what you need, and you put in the hardware and the software, the installation, the support, because it can be 100% financed under one financing without any out-of-pocket expense or payments for 1 year. It's a huge bullet point to let you know, because we're asked, well, can you do the software and the hardware? Well, yeah, but why don't you look at the installation and roll all that into one finance? We have the capability of doing that. We also, again, in the public sector, we finance emergency vehicles and mission equipment, anywhere from fire and law enforcement and any other public safety type entities like that. Another huge market for us is public works. It can be meters, it can be equipment, it can be infrastructure, and we do that nationwide as well. Public safety, as Carol said, is a huge market for our company, but it's also a huge market for me. And overall, I've been in this business for 37 years, and primarily about 80% has been in the public safety equipment. I've seen a lot of changes throughout the years, obviously, and I have seen a lot of cost increase, which has created a lot of issues for our local agencies to be able to afford what they really need. We also do facilities. It can be new or additions or renovations. When there's an opportunity to take a look at that, where there is a need, we also have the capability of considering that as well. So let's move to overcoming objections to the purchase. There are up to 7 answers for an objection or to a problem, and most of the time there's only 1, maybe 2 that are addressed. And sometimes you have to dig a little bit deeper to come up with the right structure for the need that will fit within the budget. Okay. So here are some of the most common objections. We love it, but we didn't budget for it. Now, typically what that means is that we did not budget to pay cash. What it doesn't tell is, can you budget for payments over a period of time? It's much like buying a car. It's much like buying a house or anything else that's on TV that screams financing to make it affordable. So while we didn't budget for cash, that does not necessarily mean that you can't budget a payment. Okay, so that's one of the most common ones that we hear, and I'm sure dealers and sales folks hear that as well. We're saving to pay cash, and while that is an admirable position to take, so many times it takes a lot of time, depending on the size of your project and the need, the urgency. It takes sometimes months and sometimes years to save up to pay cash. All the while, you're missing out on getting the equipment that you really need, and you're going to expose the increase in cost and the financing, the rate. Right now, rates are at an all-time low, so it's an excellent time to at least take a look at what that payment might be, so that you can take a look at your budget and see if it will fit. Another objection is we want to implement this over several years, and while in some cases that's the right thing to do, it's all in the larger plan. A lot of times an agency will save, and I know because I talk to them every day, they'll say, you know what, we only have $30,000 or whatever the amount may be, or $50,000, and we're going to buy some this year, and then we'll see if we can budget next year, and we'll buy some more. While that's one way to do it, the real need is not to piecemeal. I call it my piecemeal theory. It's to get most of what you need now so that you can implement it and have use of the most current technology, which is what you really want to do. So knowing that, if you were to call me and say, look, DC, we've got $40,000 or pick your number, and I can give you, without any cost to you other than a little bit of conversation, I can back into a rate and a term and give you a ballpark figure of how much, if you implemented that payment over 3, 4, or 5 years, or whatever the term may be, I can tell you about what that will buy now, as opposed to trying to, fit it into your budget every other year. And that payment will be consistent. So if you had a $40,000 payment that you wanted, or a 20, whatever it may be, I can tell you what that payment, that fixed payment, would be over 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Okay. So that's huge, because once you get it into the budget, well, then it will, barring anything unforeseen, that carries on from budget year to budget year. So it's a great way to get more of what you need now and it not cost you anymore, because you locked in the cost of the equipment and you locked in a payment. It's huge. We have 2 to 3 years remaining on an existing loan. I run into this sometimes where we'd like to do this, but we already have one, and it's going to be, for example, 2 or 3 years remaining on our existing loan. Well, there's a potential resolve to that. One is to keep your payments they are for the next 2 or 3 years, and then pick up with the payments on the new equipment. But that situation, that option allows you to either restructure that where it's feasible and makes sense, and also obtain the equipment that you need now. So most of that's another one of those 7 ways to do things. So that's one, to do that. But most of the time people don't delve into that enough. And one of the things I can say about government capital is, I always tell them, it should be our motto, is finding a way where there seems to be no way. Just remember that. We find a way where there seems to be no way. And that takes delving past a cash sale or not doing anything. So that's another one. That's a creativity that we bring to the table. And, sometimes the answer is no, you can't afford it. I mean, let's be real. Sometimes it's just not in the budget. Sometimes it won't fit. But you know what? If you don't ever look at other options, you never know that. So I want to encourage you to, utilize the creativity that we have. We have a fixed budget amount to work with, and I was sharing a while ago, if you have a fixed amount, if you've done some work and you say, look, we feel like we can allocate this amount of money, I can, again, upfront without any obligation for payments. This is trying to get to a point to where we come up with a proposal for you to take a look at, the folks that are a part of the process, so that you can come up with a viable financing proposal that you could consider for the purchase of your equipment and or services. And I'm sure you know of other obligations as well. In the environment that we live in presently, it just warrants flexibility. And we're in an environment where some municipalities and agencies are seeing a decrease in revenue, yet they still need the equipment. Okay, some systems are failing. I've had phone calls, our system is failing. Do you have anything that might give us some relief? And the answer is yes. So let me give you 3 flexible payment options that you can consider. One is a standard financing proposal that gives you based on an amount and terms that would be applicable. Your first payment is deferred 1 year before you have to make a payment. That's our standard model, unless someone asks for some specifics that we need to address. That's our standard proposal if someone were to call in. However, in this environment, we have learned that we have to be a little bit flexible and a little bit creative. So option 2 may fit your particular need. We can offer a reduced payment for 1 year, and then the subsequent payments will reflect the principal and interest for the remaining years. I did one the other day, and that got him into his next budget year. He just needed a little bit. So, the important thing is just discuss and be open and be real about what your situation is, so that we can help you. But that's another option, a reduced payment for the first year. And by the way, that payment would not be due until 1 year. So that most of the time that puts it into your next budget year. If that doesn't work for you, then the third option is, let's look and see about orchestrating reduced payments for the first and the second year. Okay, that gives you 3 years to for the revenue, to increase and assess your needs. Okay, and your financial situation. So what we would do, it would take the first and second payment. It would be a portion of what a full principal interest payment would be. And we put that for the first year and the second year, and then solve for the balance of the principal and payments after that time. Again, the whole point of these options, especially wanting to, are to make sure that we can help to give you some relief, but at the same time, purchase your much needed technology and to include the installation and support and services. There's some additional benefits. Again, any of these options, you can finance up to 1%, including the hardware, the software, the installation. Our terms are very flexible. And one of the huge benefits of the municipal financing is that you can defer payments until your next budget year. And so on the front end, we kind of massage the proposals to come up with a financing structure that will best fit your needs. Implementation. So what do I do? How does this work? The financing proposal is, from the financing perspective, is probably one of the most important pieces of information that you will ever see. And in order to receive a budgetary financing proposal, there's certain information that's needed. We'll need the estimated project cost. You do not need the exact cost because you may not need it. You may not know it at that time, okay? But you know what an estimated project cost might be. Is there a down payment? If you have one, well then, or even want to consider one, we can show that option as well as no money down. And the reason, to have a down payment, obviously your payment's going to be less because the amount financed is going to be reduced. That's the second bit we'll need. The third one is the payment frequency and the terms. Do you want annual, monthly, semi-annual, or quarterly? And the terms that you need. If you don't know what you need, that's okay. Typically, people that are in the end user, they don't do financing every day. Not that you couldn't learn it, but you know what? That's all we do every day. So there are certain terms and frequencies that are best served depending on what the need for a municipality is. Most of the time, most of our payments are annual payments, with the first one deferred until your next budget year, and that is huge. That means that you don't have to take anything out of your budget present year, because sometimes it's just not there, but it could be in your next year's budget. So the payment frequency and term, and then the timeline to implementation. If you've got a implementation that's 30 or 60 days, it is a little bit different in structuring the financing as opposed to 6 months or a year. If you have a large implementation, it would help to know what that timeline, and there's certain information that would be applicable to that requirement in a longer term implementation. So and in addition to the name of your agency and some contact information or a description of the project, brief description of the project, it can just be as simple as, communication project. Communication and infrastructure. We don't really need to identify every little detail of what it is. So communication system, it's a blanket that covers a myriad of products and services, okay? So also, once the transaction is completed, we send a award notification, or the award notification is given to the vendor. Then we contact you, the end user, and we initiate a credit review. We request certain financial information, and we coordinate the closing. So, we work together as a team, keeping everybody in the loop that needs to be in the loop, and make it go as smooth as possible so that you can have a good experience with JPS bringing us to the table, and us as the financing company that is making it all together. So we all join forces and sharing information and staying in touch so that this is as smooth as possible. And you know what? If there's a kink in the rope, sometimes there is. We'll iron it out together. So that's the implementation. Now I want to show you something that is extremely valuable to you. This costs you absolutely no money in order to receive a proposal, a financing proposal. This is a budgetary proposal. The most important figure on here is the payment amount, okay? You see, I identified communication equipment. I did this one just so you can see. We finance anything from, 50, 100,000 up to millions of dollars. But I gave $100,000, $200,000, and $400,000 increments. I gave a term that is generally commensurate with that size of the deal, but it's not etched in stone. I could just as easily show you a 3 and a 5 for each one of these, or a 5 and a 7 for a 400,000. That's a part of trying to craft the proposal to give you some real numbers. Those rates are budgetary rates. The more exact current market rate, depending on what your financials look like, is adjusted at that time. So nothing here is etched in stone. And as I tell people, it's all etched in jello. It's manageable. It is a starting point for you to take a look at what we can offer. And then you see a payment amount. That is really, really important because those are real budgetary payments. And you can look at that $200,000 and it's 5 annual payments of roughly $44,000. And you can take a look at that payment and look at your budget to see if that's something that might fit, if the type of equipment that you want and that cost is at play at the time. But interestingly enough, I hear 3 different responses from an end user, an agency that looks at this proposal. It's interesting that because that is a budgetary proposal, there's generally three responses. One is that, hey, you know what? I don't know if we can afford $43,000, and usually what that means is they know about what their budget will stand. Okay. Another response is, you know what, that's really not bad. Or maybe, you know what, that's not a bad payment. Maybe we can afford some more. So this is extremely important to help you determine where you are in the budget process. You are not obligated to this proposal. And if you'll notice, the payments are commencing June the 21st, June of 2021. So this is a standard proposal. It's manageable according to what your particular need is. And these don't take that long to prepare. And I'll be glad to show you some of the rates and terms on things that you would like to see, just to see if it's in your budget. It's a great tool. You're not obligated to do anything, but if I can help you to look in your budget and provide financing structures and have an opportunity to hopefully in the future to work with you to provide financing, we would certainly welcome that opportunity.
Thank you very much, DC. We appreciate it. Go ahead.
I was going to see, there's our contact information. You'll see my contact information. You'll also see a lady named Marty Sauls. She's in our corporate office and she works very closely with me to make sure that the information and the process is as smooth as possible. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, DC. It's a pleasure to be able to work with you. We appreciate having you as a partner for JPS and being able to provide the JPS customers options for procurement. It's a pleasure to have you be able to work with you again and have you here today. If you have any questions, let us know. Thank you so much and have a good day.